Stanley Cup Finals begin tonight. Of course, a lot of exciting times. 3 games on the schedule. But I wanted to ask you guys, who are your front runners to come out of the East and West?
Oh, I don't know. Well, Pittsburgh. Yeah, just because.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh and Chicago.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to pick against Pittsburgh. You know, they're going to possibly sit back in the lineup. You look how deep they are and the trades they made before the deadline. They're deep in the back end. They're deep in the front end. The only thing that could hurt Pittsburgh is goaltending.
That's why they picked up Thomas Volkun.
Yeah.
There's the answer to all questions.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's always nice to have a guy who's a backup that'll help you out, and that's why they brought him in.
And sure, and I mean, and the thing is, you never know which goalie is all of a sudden going to have a hot hand, or which goalie is going to suddenly become stone cold. Some guy that played lights out all year, and all of a sudden, the Rupert Luongo story. You know, some goalie's going to go stone cold. And some goalie, even when the Oilers brought in Rolison before the 06 playoff run, we're thinking Rolison, and the guy stands on his head. And I mean, and until the first game of the finals, when Bergeron took him out, Rolison was the reason that the Oilers were there, or at least one of the big reasons. Here's a guy who's playing way over his head. So I mean, anything can happen, but. You got to like Chicago, Anaheim, the way they've played this year. They've been very strong, and you never know. Like the Kings, the Kings are down a little in the standings, but only because they had a terrible start. They had a little bit of Stanley Cup hangover going on, but that team is largely unchanged from the team that won last year.
Don't forget about St. Louis too. Like St. Louis, LA is going to be a pretty good series. That's going to be a
great match.
That's going to be a great series, and I got a feeling whoever comes out of that series could go pretty deep. St. Louis's goaltending has been suspect, but LA's has been too.
Well,
Quick has been up and
Elliott over the last 13 games, 11-2.
Yeah.
So Elliott, you're talking about a guy who's really started slow, went to the minors, came back, and has been on fire.
And out in the East, don't forget about a guy wearing number 8 in Washington and the way he's played down the stretch, and the way the Capitals. We got Holtby in net, who's played solid too. Capitals have been probably one of the hottest teams in the entire NHL, and you don't count them out too.
Well, I mean, that we see it year after year is, like the first versus eighth. Well, the truth of the matter is a lot of those first place teams established that, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, and they've been kind of cruising. Some of those 7th, 8th place teams, they've been playing playoff hockey for the last month.
And a team that you should watch out for is Detroit, because they look like a team that's starting to come up. I do want to get to Brian Burke. Now, this is a guy who's very interesting over the last few weeks, months, years, whatever you want to call it. No, but what happened last week was Brian Burke sued an online website for claims of defamation. The reasons being, they're saying that he had an affair with a reporter out there, and they are not too happy. Although he's going against I guess this defamation suit with guys with the names or pseudonyms of Slobberface and Mowerman. So how are you going to try to figure this out? I don't know. But it seems like Brian Burke is chasing a ghost. Is he doing himself a disservice by going after this website and trying to make these claims? Because really, nobody knew about this until he started putting it out in light and came out with this defamation lawsuit.
Well, I mean, the statement of claim is kind of interesting to read, because that front page, as you say, there's all the AKAs on there, and the main defendant is John Doe, because they don't know who it is, right?
They hide behind a name.
Yeah, and I mean, I think what Burke's lawsuit does highlight is the fact that on online websites, and people can hide behind anonymity and say whatever they like, and they can defame, they can all kinds of incredibly hurtful, incorrect allegations can be made, and maybe this is Brian Burke's way of taking a stand against that. Is he going to be successful? I mean, who knows? But I think Brian Burke has never been shy of being in the limelight. He does, he's never met a microphone he wouldn't step up to and say something in, and maybe he's decided this is where he's going to draw a line in the sand and take a stand.
You know what? And that's the great thing and the bad thing about social media, because you can say anything you want, and a lot of people go over the edge with that because nobody's ever going to know who's saying it. Mm-hmm. And that's social media has been a horrific thing. And you've seen it in sports time and time again, where players have gone on and have made complete, what of themselves. And Brian Burke now, who, yeah, like Richard says, he's never had a mic that he doesn't like. I think he carries a podium with him wherever he goes. But you know what? Good luck in the lawsuit because you're suing.
You're chasing ghosts,
yes.
and that's what it comes down to. Connor McDavid, U18s, Canada defeating the United States. United States' 4-year run is over. Canada winning back-to-back medals for the first time, bronze a year ago. Again, beating the Americans, as I just mentioned. But Connor McDavid was a star for this team. Broke Canadian record for goals and points. Really was the bright spot. 2 hat tricks, back-to-back games. Is it safe to say that this kid, at only 16 years of age, plays for the Erie Otters of the Ontario Hockey League, could be the next superstar in the making of the National Hockey League?
Ooh. Well, in sports and in hockey, I know from my standpoint, we always project. We always project where a player is going to be. So we project, as a 16-year-old, he's pretty good. As a 19-year-old, he should be better. But there's a lot of things can happen between 16 and 19. There's a lot of things can happen over the next couple of years for this kid. You know, right now, yeah, he's
They're saying this kid, at this age, if he was 18, he'd be the #1 pick overall.
But again, you're projecting. You're projecting. You know, you love to see this kid develop in the next superstar in the NHL, but he's only 16.
Yeah, I mean, you know, having worked with athletes as well and seeing how they develop at different rates and hit peaks at different rates, I've seen, you know, athletes that were, you know, absolutely on top of the world at one age, and 2 years later, again, if you projected it, they'd be that much ahead of the game, but the rest of the field has caught up. Injury, illness, you know, you name it. There's any number of things. I mean, I'm like Greg. I mean, I wish him all the best. I hope that he continues to improve. It would be great to have another, you know, real great Canadian
Don Cherry
superstar.
calls him the next Sidney Crosby.
Yeah,
Would
well,
that be a stretch?
That's a bit of a stretch because, again, he's 16. I've seen some kids that were 80 goal scorer in Pee Wee hockey, and then 3 years later in Bantam, you couldn't find him on the ice. And he's on the ice, but you just couldn't even notice him. So that's what happens, unfortunately. Kids can plateau. Not saying this kid's going to plateau. He had a heck of a rookie season. The OHL as a 15, 16-year-old put up some incredible numbers. But now, what's he going to do as he develops as a player and gets a little bit older? Does he continue to progress as a player?
And lastly, I just want to get to this quick. Kevin Martin, Olympic trials are 8 months away. Lost John Morris. Of course, there was a lot of friction between those two. And you saw it at the Brier, especially. How does this hurt Kevin Martin's chances of making the Olympics again with the loss of John Morris?
It depends who they get to replace him. And that list, as
in
it
8
says,
months, though, that's a short amount of time.
and that list is short, right? And I mean, and you talk about team chemistry and all the rest of it. I mean, and not everybody can you know, curl third on a team as elite a level as that one is. You know, and I'm not even sure if there's an option to move Mark Kennedy into that spot, or, you know, Kennedy I think is ideally suited to throw that second stone, and him and Hebert as a front end have been, you know, lights out as far as their ability to, you know, work the front end and to you know, sweep as a team. I don't know who they get to replace Johnny Moe, but I mean, he's mercurial, right? He's one of these guys that when he's on, it's fantastic. When he's off, it's really tough, right?
You could definitely notice.
Like that was very uncomfortable at the Brier, watching Martin and him. Like, Morris would throw his rocks, and they wouldn't even talk to each other. Not even getting close. They would probably have to even talk. I probably didn't talk for 3 days.
Well, they got mics on, right? So.
It was uncomfortable, and you knew something was going to happen after that Brier was done, that they were going to part ways. And both are very competitive guys, and they butted heads. And at the end of the day, Martin's looking for a third.
But will he have an opportunity to make the Olympics really quick?
Well, it's going to be tough because curling is about gelling together as a team, feeling each other. It's and it's a short time for 8 months to get that chemistry they had once between him and Morris, to have it again with a new guy.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back with Over Under next.